All right, what's up, everybody? Sitting here with my buddy Bob. Bob is an electrician out of the Montreal, Quebec area, and he's been nice enough to sit with us today and let us kind of learn to the show. Good, man. Good. Just like I said, just picking myself up off the floor after this morning's project. It was a doozy. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how it goes. We had an old is like a 200-year-old house, and
Okay.
we had to shoot a crawl space that was about 25, 30 feet long, and it was maybe 6 inches. Um,
Oh man.
it was a doozy, and so the old homes, they sink, they settle, and it's
Yeah.
field stone walls, so it's not a cinder block or concrete construction
Okay.
for the foundation of the home. Really common out here. Old farmhouses, they would pull field stones and just stack them, and so sometimes
Yeah.
getting through those exterior walls are tricky. So we started that project with an 18-inch masonry bit to get through, and we
Yeah.
couldn't get through, so we had to reschedule it. We picked up a 24-incher, and we started penetrating the low exterior portions to try to get through this wall.
Yeah.
Like 6 penetrations later, there was something about we could get
The
through the
alignment
wall.
of the
It was something. There was something going on about
yeah.
6 inches past the wall. Big boulders, something else underneath there, and it just was a hell of a 4-hour project. But sometimes that's how it
Oh
goes, man.
man.
It's like
Yeah.
I know it's like
It's something you just never know what to expect.
you just don't, and like you can be.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like on the one hand, as an electrician, you've got like education, and you can get educated, and you can be good at it, and you can know your theory, and you can be able to run circles around the code book. But then you got to show up and uh, try to figure out how the heck to get through a wall like that. It's not in any
Yeah. Like
not in any test. So there's
yeah.
just
That's one thing they don't prepare you for in school is just how different it is being in the field compared to the classroom.
it's definitely way
So,
different than theory. It's
yeah.
different than a theoretical situation. This one was an interesting one too because the I'll have to post something online. The electrical panel, 200 amp panel, was behind first floor toilet, behind the toilet in an opening in the wall. So basically, here's what it was. It was an old exterior wall panel. It was mounted on what was the exterior wall. You could see the old siding and shingles behind it,
Yeah.
but they built an addition around the location of the exterior panel. Now, first of all, not an exterior rated panel. So they had an old QO
Okay.
interior outside. Then they built around it, encased it in the bathroom wall, and then didn't open enough for the whole panel to cover. So they took the door off. It was bananas, man. So I cussed a lot of cussing today.
Yeah.
But
That
that
reminds
helps.
me of a job I did once where I had
Yeah.
to run some wire. I don't remember what the circuits were exactly, but I get to the panel and I'm looking at the back of the panel,
Okay.
and I sit at home or I need that friend, that breaker's all that. He's a kid. Can you take me to the front of the panel? And so we leave the mechanical room. So now I'm really confused, and we go into the washroom, and he goes, "It's right there." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's your shower." And he's like, "Yeah, I built the shower there." And so he
He
built
built.
his over his electrical panel, and we had no access at all. Like it was one of those one piece showers where you come in and you just like screw into the wall and tile around it. And so I said,
Are you?
"Sorry, man, but shower's gotta go. Call us back."
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow. The thing about this industry too is that you think you've seen it all.
Oh yeah.
You you
And
think
just
you've
when you
seen it
said I've
all.
seen something else comes around.
That's crazy. So he knew intentionally that he was building a shower over the
Yeah,
cover of a panel. Damn.
yeah. I saw the knockouts around the side. Like I figured you had access. I'm like, well, I have, sure I have access to knockouts, but that's about it. And he never called us back. I don't know what happened there, but he never
It's
called
for
us
the
back.
it's for the best. I had to change my number after seeing that one. There are That's a trick too, is knowing when to be like, you know what? No, I'm
Yeah,
not
exactly.
interested. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Or just price it to where they're like, no. Because some
I
jobs,
I-
yeah.
I've
Okay.
tried that.
Yeah.
Pricing it to the point where I think they're gonna. no, and they're like, oh, that's a fantastic price. And I
You're
gotta
like,
find another excuse, and
I should have gone higher.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So Bob, tell us a little bit about like your journey in the electrical trade. Like how'd you get started? How do you find yourself in the trades?
So I took not a lot, a bit longer to get trade than most of my peers.
Okay.
Most of my guys that I knew when we left high school, they knew they were going into trade, either plumbing, electrical, anything else.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a history teacher,
Oh, cool.
and so I tried what we have here in Quebec called CEGEP. It's have an extra year of high school compared to us, but we do CEGEP. It's basically, I guess you could call it a prep school for university.
Okay.
Uh, and so I went to do that, take some history course. I did 2 semesters of basically the same history I did in high school. I got bored of that.
That's how it
So
goes.
I decided to be a manager at McDonald's
Okay.
for a few years. Wasn't liking it. Was not a fan of not being home. I had just gotten into an apartment with my then girlfriend.
Okay.
Um, and I was doing like 60, 70 hours a week. So I never saw her. Was
Yeah.
not happy. So I decided to quit another job. I was doing auto delivery installations,
Okay.
and we went to go do this like $1 million house in this little town called Westmount here in Montreal. And I think we had about a dozen televisions installed that day.
Okay.
And I'm working on one of them, and we had no power, so the electricians were there on call, and they were bringing power efficient. I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself watching them more than I was working at installing my televisions. And then from then on, I signed up for electric.
Cool.
I did a year and a half course. So in Quebec, one thing that's different
Yeah.
is we do all of our theory, all of our schooling in.
Okay.
So you do a 1.5 year, 18 months intensive. It's good for 1,800 hours towards your journeyman card,
Mm-hmm.
all in one shot, and then you go out and find yourself a job.
Okay,
So I
cool.
did. Yeah, that was basically how I got into the trade.
That's cool.
Took a bit of
Do
time to
you
get there, but I found my
yeah.
way.
Yeah, yeah, I think we all have our own, we all have our paths and what leads us there. I feel like um sometimes taking your time and doing other things, even if it's a McDonald's or AV or whatever, there are so many things you will learn doing those other things. Time management,
Yeah,
people management, whatever the case may be. Um,
yeah,
that translate really well.
yeah. Being a manager at McDonald's, I find is helping me now transition towards being more in a foreman role on my with my company where I am.
Absolutely, man.
So right now I'm learning the ropes of being a foreman, and I find a lot of that McDonald's stuff is coming back around and helping me out.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet for sure. I
Was
mean,
it
yeah,
so? Yeah, looking at it that way
management.
wasn't a waste of time after all.
Not at all. I honestly, I don't believe anything's a waste of time. I really don't. I think we all take the avenues that we feel are the avenue for the moment. Um,
Yeah,
and then sometimes you realize that's not the direction, and that's just part of the process. It's all part of the
yeah,
process.
part of
Yeah,
that's it.
totally, man. So how long have you been in the electrical trade?
I'd say close to 10 years,
Okay.
and I've only recently journeyman.
Okay, great.
My apprenticeship then
Okay.
it should. I started off with a small company, family friends, uh, and so basically one of my greatest, I guess you could say, attributes is also one of
Okay.
loyal.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
tell me, sorry, man, I don't have any work for you. I'd stay home and I wait for his call.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
there'd be times I'd be home a month waiting for his call
Wow.
and working elsewhere because
Yeah.
our apprenticeships in Quebec, we don't have to stay with the same company. We could go anywhere we want. As just the first job you get is your apprenticeship. They have to guarantee 150 hours.
Okay.
Once that 150, pick and choose where you go.
Okay.
Being loyal the way I am, I stuck around and I waited it out and I waited it out. And I think I was with him 3 years.
Okay.
We should have been enough to complete my apprenticeship, but in
There was
hindsight,
yeah. There were gaps of time that you couldn't account for it because there wasn't work there.
that's it. There was
Yeah.
no work,
Right on.
so I was
Got it.
home. I was on unemployment, waiting for him to
Got
give
it.
me a call.
Okay.
And yeah, so
In
I should have gone and find elsewhere. And that's one thing I like to tell apprentices too. Hey, look,
Yeah.
I'm happy you're working with me. You're doing great. I love to have you around.
Yeah.
But you like, I got no work for you. Second week comes around, go find something somewhere else.
Totally. Yeah.
No hard feelings, but you need to advance your apprenticeship.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. It's a hard thing to do, especially when you're talking to young people. Because young folks don't, I think until you're in a space where you like have jumped from one thing to the next a time or two, um,
Yeah,
it can be kind of hard to feel like that's something you can do. Um,
yeah. Oh,
yeah. And also once you found like a company that you fit with, it's hard to, man, you're like, what am I gonna do? Go work for a team that maybe you
yeah,
don't fit with. It's tricky.
yeah,
But it's a good thing to do. I think that if work is slow, I think that as an electrician, as a tradesperson, it is our you do have to get good at knowing
yeah,
your value. You got to know your
yeah,
value. You gotta lean on your skills, continue to educate yourself, and then um, be comfortable with taking that sense of value you have for self and taking it to some other company and saying, "Hey, here's what I'm capable of."
yeah.
It's a good practice.
The other benefit with like I said, going around from other is that not only do you advance your apprenticeship, but like uh, I'll use myself as an example again. I stuck with that guy 3 years.
Hmm.
I learned a lot with him. We did a lot of I was on service, so I learned a lot. You touch a lot of stuff on service.
Yeah.
Very rare that I did conduit,
Okay.
and so I'm not. I guess I could say I'm not comfortable doing conduit because I don't have
The
that
experience.
level of expertise as some guys who have done their conduit.
Hmm.
I don't have, and I've been around for 10 years, and I'm still not comfortable doing conduit.
Yeah. I'm the same. I think that's the electrical trade. I think that there are so many applications of it, and
Yeah,
you could spend your entire career doing residential stuff and never really been conduit too much.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but you could work for a commercial or industrial outfit, and that's all you do. So,
yeah,
every one of us, when you look at guys online and you look at people online and you're like, oh man, that person's a genius at bending conduit. I wish I were better at that. Keep in mind that that person's probably lacking in other areas too, that you might excel at.
it's true. I never looked at it that way. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
because they're just, we all have our expertise in our niche and the thing that we do a lot of. It's not until you're, I think, in the trade for a good 20, 30 years, where you feel like you've got a full understanding of like a lot of it. Because
Yeah,
you work for a company and that company typically takes certain kind of jobs.
yeah,
We like for us, we do a lot of heavy ups, a lot of EV charger installs, a lot of lighting, but we barely bend conduit.
yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I love bending conduit. I'm just not great at it.
Oh no, I'm super
Yeah,
proud when I
yeah,
get it just the way I want it.
yeah.
I'm not.
I'm not either. I especially like half inch, 3/4. I'm pretty good, but once I get to 1 inch, I got a lot of I got a lot of dead
Yeah,
soldiers in the dumpster at the
yeah.
end of the
That
day.
that's when I start sweating. That's when the sweat starts to pour.
That's right. The last time I had to bend 1 inch conduit was like that. I ended up buying like a handful of extra sticks because I knew for sure I
Yeah,
was like I'm gonna botch a bunch of this, and I did. But at the end
yeah.
of the day, the homeowner didn't see all the ones I botched. They just saw the real clean
No,
pipes that were up there. So
they just saw the finished product.
they just saw the finished product. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's just how it is. I think and that's good. I think that niching down to what you're really good at is good and bad. There's pros and cons, right? But I think that
Yeah,
we're never going to be able to be super comfortable with all the things. It does seem like that. Sometimes you
yeah,
look at people online and you're like, man, that guy's got it all figured out,
yeah.
and maybe some guys do.
Well, maybe some do. Well, like you
Maybe
said,
they
you
do.
can't
Yeah.
you find your niche, and like
Hmm.
me right now on my job, like I'm gonna have a lot of pipe to do, and so I called up my boss, like, hey, I know he's good in
Yeah.
pipe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a hand.
I think that's great. And knowing when to ask for help is great. And also like, we say it a lot on this show, like my business partner Josh and I are pretty different people. We run at different speeds. We have different strengths and skill sets, and that's great because we help each other. One picks up the other slack. So I'm real comfortable with what I'm not good at, I think. Um,
Yeah.
it's frustrating. It's I don't like not being good at things, but there are things I'm not as good at, and Josh is better than me at some things, and so I
Yeah.
lean on him. I lean on him for that. That's great. Like you said with your guy with conduit, it's okay to be like, hey man, can you send me so and so because that'll
Yeah.
help a lot. Yeah, you can't be good at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
and I think that's a good message for apprentices too, because it can feel like I think it can feel like one of these days I'm going to have it all figured out. And
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's good to like I like being around master electricians who struggle when they struggle,
Yeah.
because it's real. It's real. It's like there's no every circumstance is different. Every scenario is different. And like I say, you could be great at the code, and you can find yourself in a circumstance where you're like, what do we do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, like I situations like you said, where my on site, there was certain topics he wasn't good at, and it this might be the wrong word, but apprentice, it kind of humanized him in my eyes. He wasn't just like some like,
that's right.
oh, like
Yeah, some god.
he's like me. He struggles just like me. Like,
He's a human. Yeah, he's a human.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think humanize is the right word because we do put on a pedestal the people who we the people we see doing anything. It's like anytime you do anything, say you want to learn a sport,
Yeah.
you're gonna put people on a pedestal and be like, look at that one.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
on a pedestal, but you don't see the struggle, you don't see the hardship, you don't see the self
That's it.
doubt. You
Yeah.
don't see them in at their worst because
Yeah.
in order to do anything well, you got to go through the pits of despair too to get it's all part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Human
all part
stuff.
of.
It's all part of the process. That's right, man. Um, so in Montreal, I'm always fascinated with Canadian versus the states in kind of your
Yeah.
processes versus ours. Is to become an electrician in Montreal. Are there only union avenues? Are there non-union avenues there?
So in Quebec,
Hmm.
Montreal's in Quebec. So in Quebec, you have to be unionized to work construction.
Okay, got it.
You have no choice. We
Okay,
have, I think, 4 or 5 unions that we could choose from. Majority of electricians they go with the FIPO. The IBU is around. That's the second biggest takers, I think, with electricians. But yeah, you have to be unionized.
cool.
And like I was telling you at one point, because we're all unionized, we have a mandated 2 week break at Christmas, where all construction in Quebec shuts down for two
That's awesome.
weeks, except for emergency calls, and we had to
Okay,
get another 2 weeks in the summer.
that's awesome. I love it. That's
Yeah,
great, man. That's a beautiful
no, it's
thing.
awesome.
So if you are there still small outfits like small service companies even though they're union and I know it's an ignorant question, I'm just not in the states it's different, so I'm just
Yeah,
not familiar, but like could you start your own small service based company as a union electrician?
yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
could start. Yeah, you could have just a small service-based company. Any company you want. But your workers, and if you're the license holder, you're the master. Got to be unionized as well. It's
Okay, that makes
everyone's
sense.
unionized.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay, probably makes it easier that way. There's less to like debate about. Like I feel like in the states there's
yeah.
lots of options, right? You could do it a lot of ways.
I see so many debates on Instagram and Facebook and all that, union versus non-union, and I'm always like, what's this about? Like just so like I'm glad I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's interesting. In the States, there's just so many ways to go about it. And
Yeah,
I don't know if it's better. Um,
yeah,
if it was a simplified process, perhaps. But I feel like in America, as we've seen, it's just not a place where people like being told that they have to do something a certain way. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so that makes sense that the option is still out there. Um, in Maryland, where I live, there is, you can just go work for a company and get your hours,
yeah,
take your tests, get your journeymans and your masters, file for a company. You don't have to be unionized. Um, and I've never worked for the union. Um, I've always done just small companies, and so I'm always fascinated to talk to people who do because I don't know anything about it.
yeah.
So when you guys like, what's the size of the company that you work for?
Right now, I'd say
Mhm.
we're probably about 100 electricians.
100. That's a pretty decent sized company.
Yeah, yeah, and we do all sorts of jobs,
Cool.
commercial, some residential, some light. We have light residential and heavy residential. So light would
Okay.
be like bungalows and stuff like that. Heavy is condos, condo towers, condo development.
Roger.
Right now,
Okay.
I'm doing a lot of office renovations. I've
Okay.
been in the same tower for going on 2 years now,
Wow.
and we're
Really?
just renovating every floor, floor after floor. So
Wow.
it can get boring because it's
Sure.
always the same, you know. But right now, we got to a new one. That's this floor is gonna be interesting. We got a gym to do, so it has to be soundproof versus everything else.
Okay.
We got a major conference room to do, which also has to be soundproof. So that's gonna be it's a bit different, you know.
That's cool. I think that's great.
Yeah,
I think, I don't know. I think situations like that, it can get boring.
yeah,
But you can also get really good at a few things because you're
yeah,
doing them over and over and over and over again. And it's also probably
yeah,
a good scenario for apprentices because they see
yeah.
the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they see the same thing over and over again. If I had been running conduit on all these floors, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But our
Right.
main distribution, already, like we have 12 by 12s basically all over everywhere, and we pull out MC with walls and all that.
Makes sense. Yeah.
We're doing a lot of lighting control on this floor, which is pretty interesting too.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. My
Cool,
company
man.
does. I got into this company through one of when I was McDonald's. Uh,
Oh, really?
they build and renovate every McDonald's in Quebec.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yes, it was like a back door for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. Not a waste of time.
No.
Not at all. That's really cool. So when with a company that size, like 100 people,
Yeah.
what's the breakdown of like apprentices to journeymen to masters? Like how's that work for you guys?
Um, that's a hard question for me to answer because I don't really go around a lot, but I know that
Yeah.
where I am right now, at the moment, we have two journey,
Okay,
but that's
got it.
just the breakdown. There was a time when we were 1-to-1. We were about 20 guys and we were 1-to-1.
Okay, got it. Okay.
That
So you
that's a
guys
nice ratio that I like to have, the 1-to-1, you know.
yeah,
The apprentice gets some one-on-one attention from the journeyman. I
totally.
find they learn a lot when they get a lot of one-on-one time.
I totally agree. I think that's the way to do it if you can, if you've got the
Yeah.
setup. What do you feel like how are the apprentices in your scenario, like in your area, dealing with everything that's kind of it's a new world, getting into the trades are a hard business, and I know that
Yeah.
everybody kind of struggles with like bringing in young people, getting young people on board with the trades. Like what are some of the things you're seeing there?
We're having a hard time, and I think I could speak for other companies in Montreal. I think it's about the same thing for everyone. We're having a hard time finding um, apprentices that stick through it,
Oh,
that
okay.
stick with it, work it through. Um, there seems to be a shift in the attitude of the young apprentices coming out of trade school now, where they don't want to go through the motions, same process we did.
Okay.
They're like, "Oh, I just did my schooling. Let me work on a panel." Like, no, you
Right.
gotta work up to that.
Right.
We all sort of, and then thin line between being eager and perform, and you got to start at the bottom and work your way up to doing a
Hmm.
600-volt panel.
Sure. Sure.
Some of
So
them they're not accepting that they got to start somewhere where they're not really thinking they should be, and they
mhm,
will leave. Uh,
interesting.
find those apprentices that have the amazing attitude and are willing to go through step by step learning the trade as you should.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes they don't even stick around
Interesting.
because as an apprentice starting out, they don't have the full as a journeyman
Got it.
right away. Because of our union, our medical coverage, our dental coverage, and so some of them will try and leave for a higher paying job so that they can afford those medical bills.
That makes sense. Yeah, I guess everybody's got their cross to bear, whatever works for them.
Yeah.
Do you? Yeah, I feel like what are some of the things that you're seeing with like these young people who call it quits too soon? Like they're just gonna have to go experience that somewhere else too. It's the attitude, it's not the situation.
Yeah. No, it's that's what we're finding is there's been a shift in attitude the last couple of years,
Hmm.
and I don't want to say that it's a negative shift. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that they're bad apprentices,
Yeah.
but there's definitely been a shift, and
They're having a hard time getting
maybe it
over that
has to
hump.
do, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it has to do with what they're getting.
Yeah.
A lot of them, like, they feel like I just spent a year and a half in the classroom. What more do I need to learn? You know, well, you need there's a lot you didn't learn. And so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
brings back to the point I said earlier that there's they the schooling system here in Quebec, they need to do a better job of preparing our apprentices for the field.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Getting their
I
head
was
around
able
it.
to drill a 2-inch hole when I was learning how to do a service entrance. You know,
Yeah.
drill my 2-inch, no problem. I put in my LB, no problem.
Yeah.
The first time I did it out on the field, I my drill caught on a stone in the
Yeah.
masonry and
Yeah.
was clutchless, and I got whacked in the face. So
Goddamn. Ah,
again, big difference from the classroom to in the field.
big time.
And so they're not ready for that big difference, you know, that
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fields are, it's just so unpredictable. You just never know what the heck's going to happen, man, or what you're going to run into. Like you said earlier,
Yeah.
like you can't see what's in there. You can't see what's behind the walls,
No,
you know?
that's it.
And it's also I think I always see this with apprentices. I always see like, and not just apprentices, but like young people. It's, it's easy, and we all have gone through this too. I'm not saying I didn't do this, but like when you're young, it's easy to look at somebody who's older and be like, Psh, I
I
can
can
do
do
that.
that.
What
Yeah.
a bonehead. And look,
Yeah.
if they're talking about me, they're right. But when you get in a position where you have to make the decisions, and whether or not it succeeds is completely on you, that's the real deal. That's where it really starts to like.
Yeah.
I don't know how you prepare anybody for that aside from just giving them
Experience.
enough rope to hang themselves with, right?
Yeah.
Because the truth is, and when you're sending an apprentice out to do something, like there's this level of like, oh man, I hope they do it right. I hope they blah blah blah. I hope it goes well. But the truth is, even if you were going out to do it, there's a chance that it's not going to go right, and then
Yeah.
it's going to be a pain. So it's all just. I think the thing that I keep coming back to with the electrical trade, and I'm sure it's trades across the board, is patience. It requires so much patience.
Yeah.
Um, it does. Some jobs are easy, some jobs click, but man, most don't. Most are
Yeah.
there's some unforeseen thing, or there's something you didn't account for, or there's some material you didn't think about, or there's a
Yeah.
lot of problem solving.
Yeah. No, the patience and goes hand in hand, and that what I'd say is being open to constantly learning a new way to do your job.
That's right, and that doesn't
I've had
stop.
cases where, yeah, I've had cases where apprentices, fresh out of school, show me a method that he picked up from God knows where, and I'm like, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
thanks. You taught me something today. You know, like,
sure. Sure.
yeah,
Look, we learn more from our apprentice than he probably learns from us, and it's mostly
yeah,
just like how to deal with a young person, how to like
yeah,
how to engage, how to say the right thing, how to make it exciting so that he's not like this is dumb, because it can feel
yeah.
that way sometimes, you know.
Because I can't treat my apprentice the same way I treat my kids at home. You know, he'll he'll leave. You know, but
Yes, right.
so that's also that brings a good point. You got to learn how to deal with these young guys as well.
It's
Yeah,
tricky, man, and none of us go just like with those of us who start a business. That we didn't go to business school. We're just taking a shot here. It's the same thing with an apprentice. It's like I didn't study childhood development. I don't, I'm doing my best to relate to a person that's, 20 something years my junior. And,
yeah,
and then there's communication. There's like, not just in the setup of everything, but in how to explain to a person how to do a certain thing. Because there's always like a right way to do something, but within the right way, there's like a variance of like how you could get to the right way.
yeah,
So I'm a pretty hands-off teacher when I teach. I kind of like to say this is what we need to do. These are a couple ways you could do it. show me what you can do, as
Yeah,
opposed to being like, you need to put the drill exactly right there, go through, but everybody has their style, and part of having apprentices is learning your style.
yeah.
Yeah.
Put them hands on, but I'll always start with this is how I do it.
Hmm.
If it doesn't work for you, like find a different way to do it.
That's right.
If it comes to something a bit more touchy, like I remember on this job we were doing some fire alarm speaker installations, and my apprentice had never seen it. He didn't even know there was such a thing as fire alarm speakers. Just to show you again the difference between schooling and in the
Right.
field.
Sure.
And so I showed him how I do it, and then I gave him a little like cheat sheet of notes.
Yeah.
So look at that. This is how you do it. But if you find, as long as these colors are connected in that certain sequence,
Yeah.
but you find a different way to do it that works for you,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. As long as we can evacuate the building at the end of the day.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. And them finding the way that they do it is all part of the process too.
yeah,
So long as it's clean, like if I see that you took the time to make it look good, that's what I want to see.
yeah,
It's like you can get
yeah,
a you can get a cable from one end of the room to the other in a number of ways. Just make it look good. Make it look
yeah,
clean. Don't make it look like somebody didn't care. Just show me you care.
yeah, yeah.
That's a big one.
And I find that when we give them that leeway to figure out their own way to
Hmm.
do it,
Yeah.
it will stick a
Hmm.
lot more,
I agree.
and they'll learn faster. But there's also a question of pride that comes with that.
Yeah, they did
So like
that.
they'll be prouder of their accomplishment because they figured it out how to do it,
Yeah.
versus I told them to do it this.
Right. Yep. I love it. I think it's a great way to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's all good. I think every step of it's good. That apprentice is soaking in so much. They're not just learning how to do the moves. They're learning how to cuss when things don't work out right. That's a big one. Got to swear. Got to learn how to swear right.
yeah, yeah. Now that's a bit of my reputation on site
Is
is
that
that I cuss a
right?
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, even when things are going great, like if it's been a quiet day, I'll throw out a cuss word, just
Yeah, man. Keep it interesting. What
yeah,
what do you feel what do you feel like are
keep
some
them
of
on their
the
toes.
That's right. From an apprentice perspective, what do you feel like are some of the things that are harder for apprentices nowadays than maybe were I don't know, not as hard for them before, or like what do you feel like some things in the culture have changed that can make it challenging for somebody who's new starting out to come in and try to take on something as challenging as electrical work?
Hmm, that's a good question. So I have a story. I don't know if it's exactly what you're asking for, but we
Sure.
had an apprentice, and what he had trouble adjusting to was that he's not going to be just doing electrical work.
Okay.
Like I would ask him to sweep the floor after we pass, and he's like, "But it wasn't my mess," or I won't per se, "Hey, we're going away for a long weekend. Can you empty out the garbage in the break room?" He goes like, I didn't study 1,800 hours to take out garbage. I'm not a garbage man.
Good God.
So that's one thing I find some of them have trouble realizing, is that you're not just going to be working on the tools all the time.
Yeah.
You have other things to do. Everyone pitches in, and yeah, that might not be exactly where the answer
That's a
you're looking for, but
that's a
it's one example of an
Sure.
adjustment.
Sure. I get that. And I think that it's an interesting thing to think because um I mean, I look at myself. I co-own a company, and Josh too, and we're on our hands and knees cleaning every job we're on. I,
Yeah,
we're spot cleaning the floors after we walk. That's part of the process.
yeah. I mean, as
You know,
electricians, apparently we have a reputation for not picking up a broom, but
I
I
don't
don't.
get it either. I don't know where that comes from. It must exist because
Yeah,
it's obviously a
yeah.
huge thing. But I mean, we are um, part of
I like
what
to
we
fool
do.
around, and I like
Yeah,
to fool around with that, and I'll pass the broom at the end of the day when all the other trades have gone, so,
yeah,
so that they don't see me
that's good.
sweeping.
Sweeping.
And
Yep.
then the joke continues. Hey, the electrician isn't broom.
Electricians didn't even clean. That's right. I don't know, man. We're so neurotic about it because for what we do, we're such a small boutique company. I'm in a person's house. The person knows me directly. They have worked with me direct. I'm not gonna
For sure.
leave.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna leave any dirt in your house. It's gonna
Oh,
look
for
better
sure. Wait,
better than when
if
we
I'm on
clean
a
it.
residential job,
No
yeah.
way.
If
It's
I'm on a
got to be
residential job, for sure, I'm cleaning as I go.
as we
On
go.
a big work site like I am, where they have, again, in Quebec, we have a union mandated person to clean up the site.
Oh, cool.
So if we, I've had a situation where I picked up a broom, and there was a union rep on site, and he's like, "Whoa, it's not your job. You just took his job away from him.
Right on.
That could cause problems."
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, I think that I could see young folks with that attitude. I feel like though that might be something that's kind of goes through the ages too, because I can remember
yeah,
being in the Marine Corps. I was in the United States Marine Corps here in the military, and yeah, you'd get that. You'd get that attitude of like, especially when somebody would pick up rank, they would like get a new promotion or something. It's like, good luck getting that guy to clean the floor again. Technically not his
yeah,
job, but yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I'm more the team player. I like to, if I'm leading a job, I like to try to have everybody set up working on their piece of the puzzle. And I like to
yeah,
buzz around and make sure everybody's got what they need, things are looking good,
yeah,
communication's happening. Like I like to be, that's how I like to do it. Everybody's
yeah,
different.
yeah. I'm pretty similar. Like I'll set up each guy with a task, and
Yeah.
I I'm just circling the whole
Yep.
day. You know,
Making sure everybody's got what they need.
I
Yep.
got my tasks to do, which
Yep.
often won't advance as much as the others because I'm just walking around so much to
Period.
checking
That's
up on
exactly,
them.
that's
Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Same thing, man. Cause at the end of the day, it's all on you.
yeah.
All on you. So what is as far as like we you mentioned earlier too apprentices having like being able to be their own advocates as they move forward in this trade and like being able to talk about what they're going through and feeling comfortable enough to maybe speak up and say, hey, this is because the work's hard. What we do is no joke.
It's hard.
It'll
Yeah,
piss you off. It'll frustrate you to
yeah.
no end. It's still
Yeah,
challenging. So I know as young people coming in, it's been a crazy world these last couple years. Um, everybody's got a different feeling about it or take on it, and it definitely has, I think, shocked the younger generation, um, and really disrupted their lives. What are some things that you're seeing? Could you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, the job our job is tough.
Yeah,
It'll piss you off. It'll beat you down.
yeah,
Um, and if you do like I did in my apprenticeship and you don't talk about it,
yeah,
don't talk about how you're feeling, like I came close to quitting. Like
yeah,
I got pushed to that point, and I had a journeyman one day ask me how I was doing. I was like, I'm good. He's like, no, really, how you doing?
yeah,
And he put down his tools, and we talked it out, and I appreciated it. So I would have to
sure,
say to the apprentices, don't be afraid to talk about how you're feeling. The mental health is no joke,
yeah,
especially in a job where if you're mentally at a point where you're distracted, you can get hurt,
yeah.
and it could
I
be a
agree.
serious accident. So like these young guys, they need to know you can talk about it. We'll listen to you.
Yeah, for
Let
sure.
us know. Reach
I
out.
like that. That's a great message because I feel like specifically in the trades, we're all dudes. We're not. There's lots of women in the trades now. Sorry, ladies, I didn't mean to say
Yeah,
we're all dudes, but it's dude heavy, and you know how dudes are. Uh,
yeah,
we're hard on each other. We bust each other's balls.
yeah,
And and I think that it's easy to see other people seemingly making it look easy, or maybe, man, that guy never loses his cool. How's that guy never loses cool? Like you work with all these different types of people that it's hard not to internalize it and think like, oh, it's just me. I'm the weak one. I'm the one who is having
yeah,
a hard time here. Um, but I'll tell you, man, I've been doing this just over 8 years, and I want to quit all the time. It's it's hard. It's hard, man. You
yeah.
find yourself in
No,
situations where you're like, God damn, what am I doing?
yeah, no,
It's hard, and you gotta overcome it. You gotta dig deep and overcome it. And sometimes there's not gonna be somebody in your ear saying that to you. And
yeah,
so I like what you're saying because I think it's important for young people to talk and say, hey, man, can we chat about this? I'm really struggling to want to keep doing this because it's kicking my ass. Because
yeah,
sometimes just hearing the person who you're talking to, who's a journeyman or a master, the owner of the company, whatever, just hearing them say, yeah, it's kicking my ass too, is
yeah,
enough for it to kind of click where you're like,
yeah,
okay, all right, this kicks everybody's ass. Um,
yeah.
because there's pride in there. There's pride that comes from knowing that you saw something through and didn't give up, you know. So when you're at those moments where you feel like, man, I don't have what it takes to do this, talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And for journeyman too, like you got to be open to listening to
yeah,
what your apprentice has to say.
yeah.
It might sound like he's pissing and moaning that you're pushing him too hard, but it could be he could be right. You know, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
could
and
be
that goes
pushing him close to the edge.
you're right, and that goes to show too, like, when I'll bring up the military again. When I was in the Marine Corps, we all had different team leaders and squad leaders, and then we all became team leaders and squad leaders. And I watched all my peers train guys differently, and some were brutal. Some of one of my peers would he'd get his guys boots on and flak jackets, and they'd run for like 8 miles, fuck up their legs, their shins, their knees, but to prove some point about toughness. Everybody's different,
Yeah,
and just because you're in a leadership position, you might be there because you've got time in, you might be there because you're really good at what you do. But and I learn this all the time, it doesn't always mean that you're good at in the moment dealing with a person's needs,
yeah.
or helping a person understand how to get through something. That takes training too, that takes learning too on the side of the leader. It's a two-way street.
I've seen a lot of the journeymen that I was working with when I first started with the company I'm with now, and
Yeah,
there's a handful of them that have gone out on
yeah,
depression, and
yeah.
if they had been or if they had someone to listen to them,
Hmm.
it could have been prevented, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, burnout's a real thing, man. It's a real thing,
Yeah,
and if you don't, I think that for me, I'm fortunate at this point that I've put myself in a position where now I co-owner of a company, so we can monitor and maintain that culture where for Josh and I and our apprentice Daniel, if you are feeling burnout, bye. Go take a break. Get out of here, man.
yeah,
Go. I don't care how long. Go get your head right, because
yeah,
that's where you do your best work, is when your head's right.
yeah,
And burnout's easy to get to. It's so easy to get
yeah.
to.
So easy.
If you're motivated and you're excited about what you're doing, it's so easy to excite yourself to burn out. I do it all the time. I burn out probably every 3 months. I I do, and I take a break.
Yeah,
I cut loose for like a week, and I'm good. But you
yeah,
got to know how it works for you, and
yeah,
pay attention to your mental health. It's funny. It's like it's such a common thing to talk about nowadays, mental health, but there's still so far to go, especially in the trades
yeah.
for us.
Because we have this image that we're supposed to be these big, tough,
Tough guys.
strong people, no emotion, no, don't talk, nothing. You know, like, but
It's a stigma.
yeah, it's we need it.
It's true. It's true, man. And I think especially young people, like at this point in my life, I've been through the ebbs and flows of depression and burnout a bunch of times, to where, yeah, I've been wise enough over the years to collect friends that I honor and value their perspective, and I just check in with them all the time. I have my weekly hangouts with people that I value, and it's
Yeah,
taken me time to do that, but I do that because it keeps my head together. And
yeah,
it's like, as you get older, you've got to put the things in place that keep your head together, because it's not anybody else's responsibility but yours.
yeah,
And so if you've got to start to take your own mental health seriously,
for sure.
because we are tough. The trades are
Yeah,
full of tough people, but even tough people, it's not that's not you I don't care how tough you are.
no, you're
Mental
you,
health is a real thing. Yeah,
yeah, you can be as tough as you want. Both men and women, we're not invincible.
not invincible.
Going
You're gonna
back
be
to the
tough.
point I made earlier, we're only human. So
We're only human. Yeah, man.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like sometimes it can take a really long time to get to the point where you're like, okay, I need some help. And it doesn't feel good to be there, to be like, man, I need some
no,
help. But
no,
the recognition right there, that point where you're like, shit, I need some help. That's the start of the movement in a positive direction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a while to get to that point, and when I did, I broke down, and I broke down hard. I was
Yeah.
sitting in the car bawling, like
Yeah. Sure.
it was not a pretty sight. But like after that
It
point, I
never
was like,
is.
after that, I was like, you know what? When I need, if I need to talk to someone, I'm gonna talk to someone. I'm gonna let them know where I am. Like
And it's funny, it is a talking is therapy. It's crazy. It's like just saying, even complaining, even when you're on a site
yeah,
and still, like this morning, both Daniel and I were just beside ourselves with how complicated it was to get these conductors across. And just saying it out loud takes this huge edge off of it where like you're internalizing all this frustration. Just being like, well, this sucks. Saying it out loud clears the air. You both are on the same page. You're like, yeah, this does suck. Does that fix it? No. Does complaining fix it? No. But we've established that this is a
yeah,
bummer. And
yeah,
we got to get through it. And so, and just talk,
yeah.
man, just talking about,
Just
just,
talking,
just talking helps. And
just talking
yeah,
is very powerful. Like
it is.
we're always focused on getting their jobs done
Mhm.
quickly and efficiently, but
Yeah,
a lot of people don't. A lot of the older journeymen, the ones that have been around for a long time, they don't realize how much it means to an apprentice when you say, you know what, that's a pretty good junction box. It's nice and it's clean. I like the way you did that. Keep it up.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're right,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I mean, I always try to, it's such a funny two-way street because we all go through that. Like even those of us who are in a leadership position, if you can remember to do that and like you said, go around, spread that good message, that good reinforcement. But then for us, we need that too. We,
yeah,
and so who are the people in your life? Who are you actively placing in your life that holds you accountable, but also encourages your growth?
yeah,
It's your role, it's your job in the world as a person to surround yourself with people who challenge you, hold you accountable, but that reinforce and encourage your growth. It's super
yeah.
important. Yeah,
Very important.
it is, man. And it's like, I know that when people are young, the emotional development's not there yet. It comes in stages. It typically comes through experiences where people realize they need it themselves, right? And then they get to
Yeah,
that point. So a lot of younger people who are in the trades might not have that like support system that's as encouraging as they might need. Their parents, maybe if they're that lucky, but yeah, on the job, making sure you're letting them know that their progress is recognized is super important.
you got to give them validation.
You got to give them validation, man. It's got to happen. Yep.
Yeah,
Check-ins, just like little things. And obviously critiques and how to get better at stuff too, but even in the critiques, you could be like, "Yeah, man, look, so when you're doing this, but like I like the way you did this, try this though."
yeah,
Cuz it's all yeah, it's a tricky thing, man. It's like it's so funny when I look back at the generations of like 70s and 80s, the fucking 50s. Like what those? There was no medication. There was no like Zoloft. There was no talking about it. How
no,
in the world? No wonder we won World War II and World War One. We were pissed off. Everybody's mad because there's a bunch of pissed off people because they're building skyscrapers and there's nobody to talk to about how their friend just died because he fell off and like, shut up and get to work. It just was such a such a brutal generation.
yeah,
No wonder all our grandpas were like assholes and like it just was a different world. Um, so I think that there's a fine line too between like being sensitive and we do need to be tough. We
yeah,
it is a hard industry, so it's got to be this
yeah,
fine balance. You've got to be
yeah,
able to recognize when you need help and ask for it, and like you said, as a leader, you've got to be willing to step aside and say, "Hey, what's going on? How can I help you?"
yeah,
But at the same time, you got to test your toughness and keep testing it and testing your resolve. And okay, we overcame that. Let that inform my knowing that I am tough enough to do that because it
yeah,
comes in waves. It comes in waves. You
yeah,
will get beat up. You will get your ass kicked. It
for
isn't there's
sure.
no way around it. And it'll keep happening. It's just the nature of this industry. And once
Yeah,
you embrace the sooner you embrace that, sometimes it takes a while because sometimes it takes you getting better at it. And because I think when you're just getting started, you can feel like, well, when I'm better at it, this won't happen. Sometimes it takes getting better at it to realize, yes, it will. And then once you embrace it, it's like, okay, I could get my ass kicked today. I don't know, but let's go. Best positive. That's why when I wake up in the morning, I just try my best to like get my head in the most positive patient space possible before I head out the door.
And you froze for a second there.
All right. Could you hear me?
No, nothing.
Okay. Well, I'll repeat. I was saying that like what I do in the mornings is I wake up and I just I try to give myself time in the morning. So
Yeah,
because that's one of my processes. That's one of the things I do for my mental health is I wake up at 5 in the morning. Even if I don't have to be at a job till 9, because it gives me time to sit there by myself in the quiet, drink my coffee, think about what I'm grateful for, and get my head in check so I don't
yeah,
walk out and make that everybody else's problem, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's about just learning what processes work for you. How, what do you need? And you're a dad, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's no time. You
Yes.
don't
No.
time's not yours anymore. Your life's not yours anymore. So you gotta squeak out. That's why dads wake up at 4 in the morning because they're like
Yeah.
nobody's up. Nobody's gonna tell
That's it.
me
No.
I gotta do something. I can sit here and do whatever I want to do. Nobody's gonna walk in the room and be like, "Hey, I need you to do this right now."
Yeah.
Not for another
Well,
couple hours.
mind you, when my 2-year-olds, sometimes they'll wake up at 4 as well, and
You gotta be quiet. Yeah. How many kids do you have?
I got four,
Oh wow, you got 4.
4 kids. Yeah.
That's awesome. Family man.
Yeah. It's hectic.
I,
I like to joke that sometimes I go to work to take a break.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. The guys with 4 kids are always the happiest on the job site.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's bananas. Is your wife stay at home with them or does she work too?
No, she works as well. She's an interior designer.
Wow, that's a cool
Yeah.
duo.
So
Electrician, interior
yeah,
designer. All right.
yeah, yeah. Whenever we get an idea for something around the house, she'll
Yeah,
throw out some plans, and I have no doubts where we're going. I know what I have to do.
that's great. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I like being given a task. I feel like that is the beautiful thing about being married sometimes is that um I spend all day making decisions and problem solving. Sometimes it's nice to just have somebody say, "Hey, do this." It's like, "Okay, I could do that.
Yeah,
That's good. I could do that.
yeah.
Thank you for
What I
telling me."
like about that is it's we have we call it like a tag team. So like when she sees I'm being overwhelmed by the kids, she'll tag me out, vice
Okay.
versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, 4
Again, about
kids.
keeping you in the best
Yeah.
mental space possible.
It's important. It's important, man. You got to have those people around that just kind of help you out. Like I got a good friend. I talk about him every now and again. I had him on the show early on. He's his name's Ian and he's lives in Toronto, lives in Scarborough. And
Okay.
he's one of my best friends and we just keep each other um accountable. Anytime we're working on a project, we're just checking in on each other, making sure, hey, how's it going? But he called me. He's got 2 kids, and when he had his second, I think he called me like the day after his son was born, and he's like in a panic, like, "Yo, man, I think I gotta quit. I think I gotta quit like this extra stuff I'm doing. I think I gotta like just focus and just double down on this one thing." And he's running through all. He just had a baby, and he's in this period
Yeah.
of like, I gotta do. And I was like, "Hey, man, don't make any decisions. Don't make any
Yeah.
decisions. You just had a baby. Like,
Yeah.
give it a month and
Yeah.
see where you're at in them. And sometimes you gotta. It's important to have people in your life that can be like, hold on, you're freaking out. You don't gotta take a second. The more people you can surround yourself with like that, the better off you're gonna be. I think because life gets
Yeah.
overwhelming. You got to tag out sometimes.
Yeah. I wouldn't when found out that we were having twins, because we wanted a girl, we ended up getting twins.
Okay, is
And
this
these
your
are my
second
my third
child?
and fourth,
Okay,
the
third and
third and
fourth.
fourth.
Okay,
So I ended up I thought I was having heart attack symptoms. I'm a big guy, so I know, and it turns
sure.
out it was an anxiety attack.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
I ended up in the hospital, and when I got home, told my wife about it, and she's like, you know what? Like, don't worry about all that stuff.
Hmm.
We're gonna do what we can. We're gonna do
Yeah.
our best.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters.
Correct.
So I was
Period.
glad that she was there for me. She had my back at that. It was one of my worst moments.
Yeah. That's what you need, though. Sometimes you need a stable, grounded counterpart. My wife is
Oh
that
yeah.
for me for sure, man. I'm such a live wire. She's helped me so much in the past decade that we've been together 13 years, but like she just helps continue to bring me back to center when I'm just always out on limbs. Like, what about this idea? She's like, no, that's a bad idea, Doug. We're not doing that. And thank God,
She
because who knows what we'd be involved in at this point. She definitely keeps me centered,
oh
and
yeah.
so does Josh in our business. Like we both, he's such a centering, grounding. He's always like, hold on, Doug.
Yeah.
And I need that.
Yeah, for me, it's the same thing with I'll come home from work, I'm stressing about this, and it's like, just take a breather. Let's sit
Yeah,
down. Let's have a coffee.
yeah.
Relax. You'll think about it tomorrow when you go back to work.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how anxiety can mimic a heart attack like that? It really there's so many times
I
where you think you're having a
I
heart
was
attack.
freaking out.
I'll bet.
I was
I'll
free.
bet.
I had all the like, and the worst thing you could do when you experience something is to Google it. See what's going on, and like
Am I
all the
dying?
symptoms
Yeah.
I put in
Yeah.
was put it heart attack, heart attack, heart attack. I'm like, oh man, it's not good.
That's right. Yeah. Do not WebMD when you are feeling chest pains.
No,
Just call a
no,
doctor
no, no.
and go to the
Yeah,
doctor. Yeah. WebMD will scare you even more for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. It's funny. It's like there's more men die of heart attacks all the time. And I think that's another thing that just goes to show and it may be that we are in industries that are high pressure, high stress, and hard on your body, but we just don't talk about it, man.
yeah,
We just don't let each other in. Um, you have to pry sometimes. You have to really like
yeah,
it's usually even for my closest friends, man. It's not until like I have a friend who's going through a separation right now, and I won't get into his business, but I didn't know that until it was happening. I didn't know he was struggling with that until it was in the process of taking place, and that's just because
yeah.
guys don't reach out and say, hey man, I'm going through this really intense situation, and I need to talk to somebody. Hey, this is Edie. Edie, want to say hi to Bob or no? Hi, welcome home. She just had a sleepover and got home from a movie. I've got a 22-year-old and I've got a 6-year-old, so I only have
Okay.
two, but I spread them way out so I don't get
Oh
overwhelmed.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
probably another few years will probably what
All
she's
of mine
6.
are under 10, so I'm going through
That's
hell right
good.
now.
That's the way to do it. Well, my 22-year-old when she is in town, uh, she's nice to have around, and my
Yeah.
6-year-old loves her to death. They have a real sweet relationship, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Bob, I won't take up any more of your time, man. I want
Sure.
to just, I admire the work that you do. I think you seem like just
Thank
such a
you.
good dude. And I'm super appreciative that you wanted to talk about the concept of mental health too, because, I'm always up to talk about it because it's such a big thing that I feel like gets understated potentially in the trades or specifically in the
Yeah.
trades, Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't get spoiled. It's we don't talk about it enough in the
We don't
trades,
talk
and
about it enough.
I've
Yeah.
seen guys. I'm thinking about a plumber right now, but someone I knew. He's no longer with us, but I've
Yeah.
seen guys succumb
Yeah.
to it, and
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
we all I think have friends who have taken that route, and it's real. It's a real thing. And so, yeah, man, especially young people getting into the trades, it's tough. Look, don't no mistake about it. It's hard. So if you're feeling like it's hard, it's cuz it is. It's not cuz you're
yeah,
not good at it. It's not cuz you're not stacking up or you don't measure up or you're not tough enough. Everybody is feels frustration and pain, and it's all if it's hard, it's hard for everybody.
yeah. It's
Yep.
hard on all of us.
Hard on all of
Don't be
us.
afraid to ask for help.
Yep, don't be afraid to ask
We're
for
here to
help.
listen.
Yep, and don't be afraid to just express yourself because it's usually just having that conversation can get you through it.
And just sometimes saying, "Hey, can I talk to you?"
Yeah, yeah,
is a relief in and of itself.
yeah. And sometimes if you hear other people's stories, like you could sit down and talk to your boss, and your boss may tell you about the 7 times they quit and came back.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Everybody's got a different
No, you
path,
never know.
and
Yeah.
it's hard for all of us. We've all gone through our own various stages of like wondering whether you're doing the right thing. I think everybody in
Yeah.
every
Of course.
in any industry feels that way. Um, so just know that if you were to leave the trades and do something else, it will also
Yeah.
be hard.
Yeah.
It
Of
will also be
course.
hard. Yeah. So you're just
You'll.
there's a level of like resolve that's necessary to overcome things, and it's hard. And talking about it is a great way to get over those humps sometimes.
Yeah.
No doubt.
For sure.
Well, Bob, thanks so much, man. Have a great day, dude. We'll probably post this episode not this week, but next.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Anything you want to any place where people can find you? Where can people find you online?
Yeah, so they could find me on Instagram. And I'm not as don't keep up as much, but I'm also on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube.
Okay.
Bob Electrician,
Right on.
all the same handle everywhere.
Cool.
All my socials are the same handle.
Okay, great. Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for your time,
All
Bob.
right.
Have a great day, buddy.
You too, man. Have a good
All
one.
right.
Bye.
See ya.